this worksheet and from a separate second worksheet. So from this worksheet, go to number 13. So when we're doing these problems, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you get rid of all of your grouping symbols. So you're going to take your -6 and you're going to distribute that. So -6 times -5 gives us positive 30n, and then -6 times 3 gives us -18. And then bring down your +2 and put that equal to -166. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to combine your like terms. So when you have -18 plus 2, that's going to turn into a -16. Then you're going to, now when you move across your equal sign, you're always going to be doing the inverse operations. You're going to do the opposite. So we have -16, you're going to add 16. That will go to 0. Bring down your 30n equal to -166 plus 16, that's -150. Now, the number in front of your n, you're going to divide that number out. So we're dividing both sides by 30. So in this case, we get -150 divided by 30 is -5 for n. Okay, the next video on the next problem in this video that we're going to go over is number 22. So again, on these ones, the first thing you will want to do is you're going to distribute. Get rid of those grouping symbols. So the reason this one's tricky is we just kind of get mixed up with those negatives. So this becomes a +5 plus 35n. And then everything else is going to come down. Oh my gosh. Now at this step, you're going to combine like terms. Because both of these ends are on the same side, make sure you aren't making the mistake of doing, anything that's an opposite. So we're going to be taking 35 and adding 6 to it. So we have 251 equal to 5 plus 41n. Now, again, we want to get rid of everything that's next to our variable. So we're first subtract that 5. So if we take 251 minus 5, we get 246 equal to 41n. Then we're going to divide, again, by that number in front of our variable. So divide both sides by 41. So we get 6 is equal to n, or n is equal to 6. Both answers are correct. So whichever way you write it, if you want to flip it or not. Okay, our next example comes from the multi-step equations CUDA software worksheet. So let's look at number 5. So when we have problems like this, we want to get our variable to one side. So to get this 4m to the other side, we're going to be subtracting 4m from both sides of our equation. So in this case, what happens is when we subtract that 4m, okay, it goes away, it goes to 0, so we're left with -4 equal to, okay, now on this side, same thing happens. They cancel out, they go to 0, so we put a 0 here. So what do we have? We have -4 equals 0. Our variables canceled out. So when you have your variables cancel out, we get a special solutions. So this is the special solution that we call it no solution, because negative 4 is not equal to 0 and it never will be. So that's why it's a special solution. And that only happens when your variables cancel out on both sides. So if we were to get something that said, for example, if we had 0 equals 0, that would be in infinitely many solutions. Or 4 equals 4. Again, infinitely many. So you can say either IMS or the infinity symbol. Or you can write out infinitely many every time, but that's a lot of work. So what it looks like when we have infinitely many compared to if we had a no solution. So just be careful with that, okay? Our next example is number 19. So again, first thing we're going to do is we're going to distribute and get rid of those grouping symbols. So we have negative 4 plus negative 6 times negative 24. No, sorry, negative 4 times negative 6 is a positive 24a. And then bring everything else down. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the a's on one side. So we're going to subtract 24a from both sides. Now what happens here? Another special solution. So what we could do is, you could add the 4, right? I saw some people doing that the other day. But this just turns into a 0, and this would just turn into a negative 18, and this still would be no solution. So it's no solution when it's at negative 22 is not equal to negative 4, and it's no solution right here as well, because both of those are not true. So whether or not you add the 22 or add the 4, like, it will never be the same number on both sides, okay? So watch out for that. There's a couple more on the worksheet. Okay, and the last example from this video is number 20. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to distribute our parentheses. So negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Negative 5 times a negative 5x is a positive 25x. 5 times negative 8 is a negative 40x. 5 times negative 2 is a negative 10. And that's equal to negative 4x minus 8x. Okay, now that all of our grouping symbols are gone, let's combine some like terms. So with our x's, we have the 25x minus 40x. That gives us negative 15x. Negative 5 minus 10 is negative 15 as well. And that is equal to, okay, so we're combining. For negative 4 and negative 8 is a negative 12x. So because the negative 15 is on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this and move that over, because it's one less step. We could add the 15 and then add the 12x, but that's just too much moving around. So I'm going to do the least amount of steps by adding the 15x. So those 15x's, they cancel out. So we're left with negative 15x, or negative 15, equals 15 and a negative 12. That gives us 3x. So when I move that 15x over, Now our x is over here, but there's no more x's over here, which is what we want. Okay, last thing. So in front of this x is a 3. So that means we're going to take both sides and divide by 3. So negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. Okay, and that is it for the examples from this worksheet.